tell you a secret, the cloud is just someone else's computer.
Our guest this week has spent his career keeping enterprise data safe.
You see companies trying to understand what the cloud is, and they tell you it's infinite, it's robust, reliable, everything is stored there, but people understand that AI changes things. They don't understand by how much.
Ofir Ehrlich co-founded CloudEndure, sold it to Amazon, and led AWS's cloud migration and disaster recovery business before founding Eon in early 2024.
I started 4 companies in total.
Eon went from founding to a $4 billion valuation in under 2 years because it turns out the supposedly boring pile of data that every company pays to store is the exact thing AI needs to be useful.
If you're a large company, what is the most important thing that you have that differentiates you from everyone else? Well, that's your data.
Ofir, welcome to Lightwork. Thank you so much for being here today. I think what's really interesting about this moment is whenever I think about Eon, people think data backup. And for a lot of people, less familiar with how all of our enterprise software works, how the internet works, they're not realizing that every single thing there is a record of. There's a document, people are keeping a daily record of every version of a customer record. All of this is stored somewhere. And notoriously, people think this is, relatively solved thing. But you decided actually in a time when AI was ultra hot to go after this space. And so I want to spend a lot of time learning more about the company that you're building, what Eon is spending time on, but also hear more about you as an entrepreneur building in this space.
So wonderful. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the show. So first and foremost, I always say my name is Ofir. I'm married to wonderful Julia, father to Rom and Leah. Objectively, it's important, objectively, cutest kids ever born.
I've seen them and they're very cute.
Incredibly cute. Yeah. It's very, very dangerous. And my son is a hard negotiator. Right now, he doesn't want to go to the kindergarten and I'm trying to figure out what to do. So
I can't believe you're like CEO of this amazing company and you can't out-negotiate a 3-year-old.
No. He's the best. He's going to be a CEO of Fortune 1 company.
You're training him already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's training me. Boring stuff. I started programming when I was 9. Apparently, it wasn't a bad idea. At the age of 17, during the first internet bubble, I worked at a startup company. And then I thought, it's a great idea. Let's start a few companies. I think maybe I know what I'm doing. I started 4 companies in total.
Wow.
First one, I had no idea what they're doing, to be honest, really. No one did, by the way. It was 2006. No one knew what they're doing. Neither did I. The company got shut down. And then we decided, me and a few friends, let's start another company. And it was at the peak of the financial crisis here in New York. And I remember going with a friend of mine to Times Square. His friend's actually my co-founder now. And he pointed me at a sign saying, Fear, for 106 years, there was a sign stating Lehman Brothers. Yesterday, and they took it off. I thought, what's the big deal? Who cares? I'm in tech. This is finance. Came back home, realized who cared, me trying to raise funds for the next company. It was super, super hard, but eventually raised about $1 million. A year and a half later, sold the company to a Nasdaq-traded company called Lightwork Networks. Spent a year and a half there as VP of engineering and then left. And the same team decided, let's start another company. This time, let's do something a bit bigger. And this company was called CloudEndure. A weird name. The reason we chose that, he looked for an available .com domain and we said, okay, let's change it later. Never changed it since. This company was the first time I encountered something in the world of backup, data, these kind of things. I'm a computer geek from very early on, data, backup, even cyber, but doing it hardcore, that was the first time. And we developed technology that enabled large enterprises to move from on-premises to the cloud with no downtime or data loss. And this was for 2 business purposes. First one is migration, taking all of your data center, moving it into the cloud. Cloud was pretty new, and turning off lights in data center. Second thing is what is called disaster recovery, which is like a hot backup. It means that if a meteorite hurt your a data center, you can immediately move all the applications to cloud. Nothing interferes to the customer. The customer is not disrupted. And then going back when everything is settled. We raised about $18 million in this company. Sold it to Amazon in January 19 for a few hundreds of millions of dollars. And then 2 really interesting things happened to me. First one is that we had a front row seat looking at all those really big customers moving to the cloud. Now, if you look at AI right now, moving to the cloud looks like peanuts, way smaller than this event. See, it was massive. You see companies trying to understand what the cloud is.
Yep.
And they tell you it's infinite, it's robust, reliable, everything is stored there. But tell you a secret: the cloud is just someone else's computer.
Yes.
The bits are on the internet. Good luck associating your process document with the physical disk that they're on. So
and maybe to take a step back, like why would a company, I mean, I know this is now pretty standard, but back then, why was it so critical that a company would move from on-prem to the cloud?
What happened was two reasons. First, it was really, truly economical. And you're able to move from a CapEx to OpEx, paying only for what you need.
Yep.
Okay. Other hand, it was really cool. And everyone wanted to be a part of the cool wave, which is also very, very important. And you have all those new cool capabilities in the cloud. Look what's happening today. All of a sudden, Google have a new AI thingy, and Amazon have a new storage thingy. So it's really cool. You get more and more and more features as you move there. So people wanted to move to the cloud, and they found out that the cloud just someone else's computer, as I said, and to actually care and actually decide what they're going to do. And whenever, something bad happened, we wanted to do something with the cloud providers. I don't know, they got hacked. They had data in the cloud, and someone hacked it, and they came to the cloud providers. The chief information security officer says, "Hey, please help me. What should I do? I lost control." And the cloud providers told them, as I learned in my public speaking course in AWS, "I'm so sorry." And it's for all the clouds. It's not no one in particular. So sorry, but shared responsibility model. This means that we, the cloud providers, we provide compute, we provide storage, but all kind of specific services. You, the customer, you're responsible for everything. And we grew the business significantly inside AWS. So that was the first thing that happened to me. I had a front row seat looking at all of those companies moving to the cloud, and then realizing what it means moving to this, let's call it, new apartment, which is the cloud. The other thing that happened to me is that I said, I want to understand how the world works better.
Yeah.
The best way to do that, what I thought, which turned out to be, I think, true, is to become an angel investor. And later I started advising a few venture firms all over the world. The main reason to do that is, even though I think that in general, angel investing is a losing asset class, it helped scale me up. I started working with so many CEOs, looking at what they're doing, looking at the decision making. Sometimes I said, oh my God, they're complete idiots. Why are they doing that? But you know what? I wasn't accountable or liable for those decisions.
Yeah.
And then in 3 or 6 months, I could actually see what's actually going on and realize whether I was really correct, being smug, I knew what's going to happen, or, oh my God, I couldn't think the opposite of what I think was going to happen. And it scaled me and taught me a lot. It also helped me see things from the eyes of investors, from the eyes of acquirers, whether investors could be hedge funds, could be private equities, could be VCs, could be, small ones, big ones, institutionals. So it's a really, really fascinating way to look at the world. And I actually fell in love with it, and it was truly magnificent. And for a brief while, I spent 4 years in Amazon. When I left, I said, maybe what I need to do is go full-time VC. But you know what? I really want to start another company.
Yeah, you were like, you did it 3 times, why not a 4th?
Now I said, I'll tell you a secret. I have a dual personality, in the state that I have one of personality. I have an imposter syndrome. Any moment, everyone here and you are going to find out I have no idea what I'm speaking about. My other personality is, get the hell out of my way. I know exactly what I'm doing. And they coexist.
But I actually will say that is like, when I think about great founders, that is actually so much of the DNA is like, you have to be infinitely curious about the world and constantly change your assumptions. But also, when you have conviction, something, execute. And it's like, the phrase is like,
Absolutely.
strong opinions loosely held. And I feel like that's, yeah.
Exactly. You know what? That was my next sentence, precisely. And I love it. I'm going to do it until I'm at least on 200 with good health, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's something that I really enjoy doing. And when I thought maybe I'll go full-time VC, I said, I know better than them. I know what to do. I understand the world, and I need to do something where I have a significant unfair advantage.
Yeah.
I can have unfair advantage because I know the market. I can have unfair advantage because I know VCs and how they think. I know how the cloud think. We have the best team that I could think of. I'm able to work with my best friends. This is incredible. And it just, I have access to talent. I know how to solve things technically. I understand, I hope, the business problem. And we had the luxury to be able to do significant validation before launching that, because we had all those connections and relationship and understanding of the market. So it was something that we said, I just have to do it, and I'm gonna enjoy it so much.
Mhm.
And when it started, my wife asked me, we started dating during my Cloud days before selling it to Amazon. And then it was very intense until acquisition, and then it was less intense from at least from a mental perspective. And then she asked me, Ofir, how hard are you going to work? And I told her, listen, because I'm experienced, I could tell you I'm going to work 8 hours a day, and I'm going to be home for every weekend and for every supper. I'm never going to fly. But because I'm experienced and I know how the world works, and I know how I work, I'm going to work 24/7. I'm going to live on a plane. And this is a decision that we need to take and understand that this is what's going to happen. And I think she didn't believe me at the time. She said, yeah, but probably. And I said, no. This is what's going to happen. And this is really what's happening right now. And I'm working all the time. But you know what? I just love this. I enjoy it all the time. I'm never going to quit doing that. And hopefully Eon will be forever ever and be a large company. But even 10, 20 years, whatever, if I ever will leave the company or whatever, or in 20 years, I'm just going to do another one. So better stick with this one. And this is what I love. My hobby, people have hobby. I used to have hobby playing poker. Yeah, I did it a lot in past. I really enjoyed that, the mental challenge, and with very smart people.
Have to do a Portco poker night.
Exactly. It's important. It's important. But my hobby today is it's funny. It's venture. Yeah, my hobby is investing. I love it. I love speaking with founders. I love investing. I want to continue always being curious, understanding how the world works, how the world's changing. And right now, the world is changing faster than any time, remember, in the past. Now, I know I have more knowledge today and we have recency bias, but still, oh my God, even how you sell software dramatically changed since, 2 years ago. For 30 years, 40 years was exactly the same. And now it changes. And it's not just technology, it's how it implicates our lives. And if today, more than any time, as a startup founder, on the one hand, you need to have tunnel vision, make sure you focus, execute, heads down executing. I hate this phrase, by the way, because you need to always be curious, understand the world's changing, change with that. And that's really immensely important.
Hearing you talk, it's like so energizing. And I know Jan has been a total rocket ship, and so I can only imagine how many flights and hours have gone into that. And
so
sound
many.
like I have an amazing team around you, which I want to get into how you assembled this rock star team. But I guess to even double down a little bit more into what you're building, because I do think there's an interesting story. You brought up this idea that the world is changing so quickly, and as a founder, you have to be curious. You have to constantly adapt with the things happening around you, while also building and being heads down and pushing things to production. It sounds like Eon is playing in the space where people might think, okay, data backup, data protection, it's a relatively solved space. But it sounds like with AI, there's a lot that's being challenged in how you have to think about this asset.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you how it started. When we started, I said, I'm this crazy person, starting a non-AI company in an AI world. Now, remember,
this was like 2020.
It was the absolute beginning of 2024. So it was
post-ChatGPT
exactly,
moment.
It was post-ChatGPT moment, exactly, of November 2022. But it was before, agents started to rule the world, and Anthropic became a thing, and those kind of things. And we said we had an unfair advantage, and we want to do something where we can really, really influence and make a difference. And we saw so many customers. I think there's no one in the world seeing more migration to cloud. We've been in the weeds with those customers. We're understanding their pain. We're understanding that there's a new way to do things. And I can tell you that I also thought that backup is solved. And what changed me is that when I was AWS, one of the big customers that we had, that we were actually in touch with, we were large scale, so we weren't in touch with any customer. But this one, someone that we engage with a lot. And one day, I read online those guys had ransomware attack them. Now, they were doing anything humanly possible in terms of time, effort, money to protect their data. So I was sure that if they were attacked by ransomware, it's actually going to be a success story for AWS, for the disaster recovery team. So it's going to be great. So we called them up just to make sure that everything's fine. And to our surprise, 60% or so of their infrastructure got hit really bad. And I thought, backup is solved. I mean, come on, there's so many incumbents.
Yeah.
It's a problem that exists for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
how could it be? And we realized that there are a lot of challenges in the cloud that simply didn't exist on premises in the old world. And all the incumbents in the space, they all started, all of them were no real large companies, enterprises in the cloud. Because companies really moved to the cloud mainly around COVID, 2020, if you remember what it is. No one remembers what it is, right?
Ages ago now.
Exactly, ages ago. Who knows? Okay? Some pandemic. 2020, 21,
Yeah.
that's where the real migration to cloud started. And it was still pre-ChatGPT moment. And started moving to the cloud, and they didn't really know what to do. And everything is behaving differently in the cloud. On premises, let's say I want to have another a disk. What do? I open a ticket for IT. Someone to say IT picks it up, handles it, tell me, okay, sends me a disk or something like that. In the cloud, it's completely different. Every person can create, remove, modify resources as much as they want.
Yep.
And you basically have no control. So they didn't even realize what they should do. They didn't really realize how much it's going to cost them. They had all those new crazy cool abilities or databases, data warehouses in the cloud, but they didn't know, we need to protect that, how it's not transparent, it's going to cost a lot of money. All this storage of those backups is called snapshots. It's like tapes. It's like the virtual equivalent of sitting in some warehouse somewhere, and you need to retrieve the data.
Yep.
It's really, really cumbersome. We understand what we need to do differently, but we also understood that there's a new market. I just spoke about a customer that they weren't aware. So where's the market? The market was this new organization, which was called Cloud Infrastructure, Cloud Operations, or Cloud Engineering. It's a new organization inside large enterprises. They control all of the cloud spend, which could get to billions of dollars annually. So that's huge. That's a vast amount of money that they're not even accountable for.
And like in simple analogy terms, it's like this is where the company is storing all historical records of all files. Yes.
Both historical record and up-to-date records,
Yep.
and it's very hard for them to distinguish. They call it storage.
Yep.
We understand that if you look at it differently for storage of historical records, if we build data foundation, if we build a unique storage platform in the cloud, software only, we're not on premises anymore, we can both create a really, really great solution that will help ingest data from identify all of your cloud resources across everything, all of your estate, bring everything logically together without hassle, store that efficiently. So it's both dramatically lower cost, but way better product. And we can also do some magical things, which is actually making all of this data searchable, browsable, and usable. Now, this was actually something that we didn't expect would be so significant in this new world. Because when we started, okay, backup, and then you're able to access that because, let's say you're an insurance company and you spill coffee in the kitchen, Claire. 5 years ago, now there's a lawsuit. And the auditor comes and says, okay, bring me all the documents from 5 years ago, but where is it?
Yeah, before Ian, what do you do?
What do you do? So you bring a SWAT team between 10 and 30 people. They go around the office, the virtual office, trying to find where did I put the data. Let's say that they found the data. It's on a server in AWS in Singapore. Great. Now that just need to retrieve it. It's amazing. So you found it, you actually store the data, which is most of the time it's not even there. And now you need to restore data, but it's on a database. It's from 5 years ago. And
it's in an attic.
Exactly. And when you try to restore it and do try to understand what it is, you find out it contains old software. It doesn't work anymore. It's security vulnerabilities from 5 years ago. You know how many security vulnerabilities were? It used to run in some network. The network doesn't exist anymore. And who has the password for database? I think he got fired for spilling coffee. So you need to bring the DBAs, the network teams, and the system just to restore a few records. And you know what? That's not the right
And for like
database.
some of these massive companies, this type of workflow is just happening on a daily basis.
Exactly. It's their day to day. And you see teams of tens and hundreds of people just doing
Going
that.
to the attic and all this friction.
And then they understand they don't want to do it. So they're doing the minimal amount of work and they're not even trying to bring that. It becomes something that you don't trust. And you pay so much money for that. Like something 10, 20, 20, 30% of your cloud spend, which is huge. And you don't sleep well at night. And we found out that if we make everything easily ingestible, searchable, browsable, queryable, we can activate that, we can make it useful for you. And we said we use it so easy recovery. But here's what was interesting that happened. We started showing that to customers. And they started connecting us to data teams. And they started connecting to AI teams because every day there's a new model. Every day there's a new compute platform. And I think they're great. It's very easy switching costs. You switch from one to another immediately. What is more today? If you're a company, if you're a large company, what is the most important thing that you have that differentiates you from everyone else? Well, that's your data. The data that you're creating now, the data that was accrued throughout the years. But you know what? It's locked. There are multiple people in multiple business units that each of them have data. They don't know what they has. Let's say you're, the director of data, and you got tasked by the CTO, the CEO. Okay, you gotta get all the data and do something with it because AI. It's really cool. It's really helpful, and we need to be a part of this movement. And it's actually usable. So that's amazing. You want to use all those neo clouds. You want to use all those really cool compute tools. You want to close on your data. You want to run it through Databricks and process that. You want to push it into ClickHouse and do crazy stuff. Great. How do you do that? Data is locked. Multiple business owners. Each of them has their own data. They're scared because they have maybe financial. Maybe the salary of the CEO is hiding there, and it could be leaked if they give it to you because Claude would ask questions and get these answers, and they will be the ones to blame. So what do you do? So we found out that the same technology can provide real value if you take all of your data, identify it, map it, classify it, create a generality map and contracts around everything. So we know everything about your data, or let you know actually everything about your data. You can actually activate data and use that with all of those tools and immediately switch between all of them. When you know that your data is safe and is processed in the right way that you choose and prepared to be consumed in the best way possible by every tool of your choice, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, or in 3 or 5 years. So that's what we became. We're a autonomous data foundation. We're doing data backup still. It's very important because you get just take a look at all of data.
That's the foundations of it.
Exactly. But you also know how to take data, ingest it, whether it's real time, from real time events, whether from real time databases, process that and prepare that for consumption so they can use whatever tools that, top of the line today, moving between clouds seamlessly with very low cost compared to every other option, with very high quality, with very high performance, and make everything usable. So that's what we're doing.
I just to kind of make it make sense around the data opportunity in the age of AI, I think for some folks they're like, okay, I don't understand even why data is so valuable in this era, but I think just to make it tangible, for example, the question that always comes up as we look at startups and you angel invest, and so you understand this and you see this with the founders who are trying to harvest all of that data. The difference between why Google AI tools might be so helpful for me is that they have so much data on me as a human and my writing patterns and everything on me versus new AI tool might be really great, but they don't have that data and distribution. And so just to kind of illustrate the difference between if you were a company and having access to that data, you have so much more advantage if you can harvest it and use it accurately. And so that's why it's so important for all these enterprises to be able to have clean data. And what your service, I think, to again make like super simple analogy, it's like instead of that attic motion where you have like a bunch of people going in and now and nobody can find anything, you just basically built like a sweeper that just like, help me find this. And it just like instantly.
Exactly. We help you find it when you need it. We also make sure to find all the data when you try to understand where's my important data? Where is my data that I don't want to expose? What data I do want to expose? Make sure that I bring everything so when you search it, it's there and it's usable. And you can actually get real results that you need for your business. And it's It's really cool.
What is your process for making that data usable? So maybe not in CTO terms, but for CEO terms, I have an enterprise. How are you making that usable for me?
So I'll tell you something. We're just had a discussion with the CEO of one of our large customers, and they are processing over. They are real-time bidding an ad network.
Hmm.
They're processing over 2 petabytes of data a day.
Wow.
So that's a lot of data they're processing. And they told us, you know what, Ofir, we didn't understand initially how much impact it's going to be on the company, but we're able to get to new markets now. We're able to get significant profitability. One is because you were able to get the data with much higher performance, higher accuracy, immediate reduction of noise, ability to identify data that is bogus or that is redundant or that we don't need. And we do that at a fraction of the cost that we used to do it before. So it's a better product, better value, simplifies everything, all of their work at a lower cost.
Yeah.
And enables them to literally focus on the business and make it more significant. And they told us that they were able to continuously grow because of that significantly, even into markets they didn't have access to before because it was too cumbersome, or they had too much noise in the data, or they needed performance and didn't meet the SLAs, or it was not good enough unit economics. And now everything is solved, and we can see we're growing with them. So their consumption is growing with them. So it's everyone's happy. So I really want some cliche, but it's true that I'm taking from my AWS days, and I'm a true believer that think from the customer backwards. If you're able to deliver real value, customer will love and grow with you. And that's what we're attempting to do. And we're very fortunate to do that even with the CEOs. The CEOs even get it. Sometimes you explain, CTO, CDO, CEO in technical terms, but you can also help the CEO and this is how I impact your bottom line.
It is so helpful for you to talk about your founder journey. It was really so inspiring. I know you referenced a bunch of really important people that have contributed to this journey. Obviously, foundational to that, Julia, your 2 kids, but also it sounds like you have a great team around you. Tell us a little bit more about who you've decided to build this with.
So I have 2 co-founders. One of them is Gonen. Gonen is my best friend only for the last 26 years.
Only 26.
Exactly. Since he was 17, I'm 18. Now I'm exposing my age. And we continuously were speaking every day, even when working in separate companies. And we didn't want to work together because we're best friends. What's going to happen? And like in Cloud Endure, previous company, we didn't want to do it, honestly, because he doesn't deliver, I don't deliver, I know what's going to happen. But his mom decided that we have to work together. And if his mom says that this is what we're doing,
That's the final say.
and today, to be honest, I don't understand how to not work with him. Gones is a president CRO. He runs all of go-to-market. My other co-founder is Ron. Ron was actually, I hired him. I think it was 8 years ago. In AWS, was just when we got acquired by Amazon, a previous company. But he became so significant, so important. He actually became general manager of everything we built. He managed engineering, but also professional services and marketing and sales and bidding and whatnot. And we worked so well together, became so good friends. We said we just have to, we have to work together. There's no way around it. And I'll tell you a secret. I think that's, for founders, I think that's the most important thing. I think that if I wouldn't start a company with friends, I wouldn't start a company. I think that I have to feel like I have super strong founders that will be with me, rain or shine, that I can trust them, that they're both superstars in what they do, and also really good friends of mine in general. Because if at the end of the day, you go to work, I would say I work 24/7. You want to do it with people that you trust and love, and that's super, super, super important. And that's part of my general philosophy. People laugh at me sometimes. I say that I take fun seriously. Means that, and it applies to people that I bring to the company, people that I work with. That even my investor, which I was very fortunate to be able to choose. I say that if you take a really brilliant group of people, point them to the right direction, and let them run. You need management, you need processes, whatever. But if they have fun, everything will fall into place. If they don't, no matter which process you're going to put, in place, no matter what change is going to do, no matter what, financial motivation going to put, nothing would work. So having fun doesn't mean Disneyland. It means really enjoying every day, saying, well, I'm so fortunate to be here every day, I think is paramount to building a significant company.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to be with great friends as co-founders and great team that we assembled around us.
Yeah, and I can see that, like, when you're talking, it's like how lucky you are to be able to build with such great people and do the thing you love for hopefully many, many, many years to come. I think on an ending note, I love the curiosity that you have in the world. I think that's such an important part of great founders. Since you have so much exposure into investing in the space, you're building in the space. As part of being a founder, you have to track what's happening in the ecosystem. Is there anything in the AI world or beyond, even in software generally, that is exciting you in this moment?
I think what's exciting me right now is actually not specific technology other, but the meta, the pace of how things are changing, not just from a technological perspective, which is, insane. I don't think that since the Industrial Revolution, not even the internet was so significant what's happening today. I think that even though people understand that AI changes things, they don't understand by how much. What's fascinating me is how processes became different, how companies are consuming software in a completely different way, or hardware, how new companies being founded, how important it is today to be, first principle thinker and innovator versus, oh, I have 20 years of experience, let's do more of the same. I think there's an opportunity and threat in the market right now, and I think that it's the best time to be a founder, the best time to be curious.
Yes.
And the moment you start being curious, that's when you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So really, I enjoy every moment of that, truly.
Yeah, I love that. We always remind ourselves at Lacey that, like, progress is not the default. You need people who truly believe that they can change the world. And now is this moment to be bold and to be ambitious and to throw your heart and mind into something great. And it's just been never more exciting to build.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a true pleasure. I can't believe we're already out of time.
I know. I feel like there's so much more I want to learn about you and like so much more I want to get in the nitty gritty of Eon. But hopefully this was a great primer for folks. And there's, you all put out so many great resources. So for any of those technical folks, I'm sure they'll find their way as they dig into.
Absolutely. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.